Did not do well either, by the way.
No.
The House of
That
M
elimination was
not...
brutal.
Yeah. Oh, lip sync assassin Sidious. Yeah.
She was fierce, Henny. She
Yeah.
showed up. It was done. The minute she showed up, she knew she was going home. Wait, I have a line, huh?
Do you need time to find your character again? Like, who is Zach in this galaxy?
Who
What
is
are his
she?
motivations?
Is she a Jedi? Is she? How do I see myself again?
That's a really philosophical question. It's a journey, I would say.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to do a final check. Should everything look good? What is my line though? Is it we're not only force sensitive, right?
Line.
Okay.
Welcome to Star Gaze,
Yes. Okay.
where we're not only force sensitive,
we're fear sensitive. Hold on, just let me. I got the line.
I can't wait till you flip flop it as you say it. That's cute. That's good. We're not only fear sensitive, we're force sensitive. Everything in your room just levitates.
I can't do it. Hello, and welcome to Star Gaze, where we're not only force sensitive, we're fear sensitive.
Yes.
I almost did it.
You had to think about it, didn't you?
I did.
You're like,
It's
wait.
been so long. I'm so happy to be back.
Me too. Season 2. What everyone's been clamoring for. Our return. I'm excited because I think viewing season 1 was eye-opening.
Oh yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah. And I'm excited for season 2, where we got more Star Wars stuff, more action, more explosions. Assuming it's covered by my homeowner's insurance. I gotta double check that.
It'll look like a Michael Bay film when we're done with this.
Michael Bay in 2007. Yep.
Yes.
Peak Bay time. Love it.
Peak explosions.
Yeah. What's new though? I mean, we got to watch ourselves through a time warp as the series aired, and
it was so wild, like, and so entertaining. Like,
yeah,
I'm not full of myself, but we're funny.
We are funny. I wish other people watched it. Yeah.
But you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
Creating for creative sake.
Yeah. I mean, creativity is creativity. People will find us, you know.
Yes.
We're in the unknown regions of the galaxy right now.
And since then, we've gotten so much Star Wars news. Ahsoka's going to be coming out soon.
I'm excited for that.
And then potentially nothing after that because of the writer's strike and then the actors.
Dude, it's going to be a mess. They're already pushing all kinds of stuff back for Marvel and some other things. So I'm expecting Star Wars announcements to come.
So you're not listeners. There's plenty of legacy stuff to go through. We have something.
We will figure it out. And we're not on a strike because nobody's hired us. So
no one's paying us to do this.
Right. So we'll be here. Lucky you. But yeah, so I'm expecting some Star Wars announcements for those delays. Andor season 2 was, I think, a couple weeks away from finishing production when the strikes happened, which is real sad because they were almost done with it. So now that's going to be pushed back too. And that was all, like, we already weren't going to get that for probably a year. So there's that. The new Daisy Ridley film about the new Jedi Order, which is the working pseudo title. I'm really worried about that.
Yeah. Which
That
sucks
was
too, because I
already
feel
far
like
out.
with big titles and like movies, they've been so finicky in the last couple years. So it's like,
Oh
okay, we
yeah.
finally got some traction, and now
Yeah, this is
now we're
not
not
what
going to get
Star
it.
Wars needs. Yeah, it's not what they needed at all.
Do you know if Alkalite finished, or had that not started yet?
Um, they paused for the strike, but I think they too um were almost done.
Damn,
Yeah,
I'm so excited to watch that.
I know. But they were moving pretty quickly, so and I
They
think
knew
they're
it was
still
coming.
working on what they can. Yeah, I think they're still doing what they can with it to try and make sure once everybody's back that they can roll it out as quickly as possible, because that was going to be their next big one.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. Maybe I could look it up later, but I don't know if Skeleton Crew finished filming.
Oh, I forgot about that
Um, so did the world. It's okay.
one.
Uh,
I'll be pleasantly surprised when
the
it comes
most
out.
the most obscure Star Wars show upcoming. Um, yeah, but it's gonna be rough, rough, rough. So, I
Dark
don't know.
times in the galaxy.
Yeah, but other news, got my Disney Pass again. So excited for that.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. How exciting for you.
yeah, they suckered me back in. I was just on Batu, hanging out with Oga, hitting up Doc on Dar, seeing his antiquities, um, drinking some blue milk.
Was it a Jedi mind trick? Do you remember making the choice?
No, I don't, but it might be a hyperspace issue. Like to go from Disneyland to Batu is just like such a
Oh, yeah,
quick, like it's jarring.
I
Um,
bet.
it was almost like I walked there.
No one
Um,
sold you death sticks, did they?
no, thankfully,
Okay, good.
and thank
That's a
God,
problem.
because I have been clean for quite some time, and I don't want to get back on the habit.
Fall off the wagon
Yeah.
for this
That's what I was
theater.
looking for. I was trying to think of a Star Wars way to say that, and I'm like, oh, it's not coming to me. As you can see, my setup is still the same. I still didn't put up my lightsabers. I did pull them out. They're over there, waiting to be mounted.
Just so that you know, just off screen.
Just off screen. But it's canon. They're there. Uh
Canon.
yeah. But I'm excited. We're diving into season 2. I can't wait to talk about everything gay in Star Wars. I feel like we did a lot of social justice type stuff, which was really important in season 1. And I think we're gonna keep it a little more fun this go around, and really dive into some canon stuff, some trivia stuff, and maybe some legend stuff.
And some gay
Um,
stuff.
yeah, some gay stuff. It's always
Star
gay.
Wars
Ain't it?
related.
Woo! Yeah. Um, we got better setups. Zach's upgraded his setup. Bam. Look at that. For no reason at all, I've added an extra camera angle. Hey. Um, absolutely no reason other than I can. So can't wait for you to see that in post.
Because it looks real weird now. like you're talking to your off-screen friend. Someone just
In my
walked into the
mind.
room.
A force
It's the
ghost.
voices.
Qui-Gon. Sorry.
Oh my god, that YouTube channel I sent you with the Force Ghost
Oh, I
watching and
love
reviewing
them.
Star Wars.
I
It's so funny.
love that channel. I forget what they're called.
Too. They just pop up on my TikTok in the galaxy.
Feel like I didn't actually subscribe to them. I just
I should.
yeah, but they're great. Whoever
They're
they were, yeah,
hilarious. Maybe in post you can link them or something. I don't know.
probably won't. Um, should we get into the top? We've been talking for like 20 minutes. We haven't even discussed that. We haven't changed that much, everybody.
That's
Um,
okay. In 6 months, we're going to be like, oh, this was a good one.
I can't wait, especially with the camera angle. I don't know. Um, interesting choice. But we're talking about the Clone Wars, which is great. We're coming off of Attack of the Clones, which is where we ended the last season. And I feel like we kind of struggle to talk about Attack of the Clones just because as a film, it's kind of rough.
It's hard to talk about.
Yeah, but we made fun of it in other ways, mainly talking about Padme and how horrible she is. What's
There's more
wrong
of
with
that.
her?
She's not dead yet.
Not for lack of trying. But yeah, so this is gonna be a two-parter because the Clone Wars is pretty heavy, right? We got 7 seasons
and lots of storytelling.
Yeah, but I got good notes. We're structured, sort of. And yeah, so part 1 I think is going to be the first 4 seasons, and then part 2 will be seasons 5 through 7. So yeah,
checks out.
And that's all the seasons there is.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, I know, but also we'll talk about it. But
we'll get there.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, more Clone Wars, and sometimes I'm like, all of this happened in the war.
I have a confession to make before we start talking about it.
Oh God,
I had not really watched Clone Wars. It's especially not extensively until we did our watch through. I had some major issues with it when it first came out.
Oh, a lot of people did, and I think there's reasons for that, and we'll discuss that along the way too. And I was the same. I was a late comer to the Clone Wars myself. I really boycotted that show. Yeah, I'll talk about. In fact, let's start there, because just like our films, we talk about what we remember from their releasing and all that good stuff. So, what do you remember from the Clone Wars coming out and while it was on the air and all that good stuff?
You know, I wasn't super deep into Star Wars at this time. Because you know, it came out in what, 2008, 2000.
Star Wars? I'm just kidding.
No, the Clone Wars. The topic of discussion. Yeah, so in 2008, I was graduating high school, going to college. Like,
yeah,
wasn't really watching Cartoon Network, didn't have cable in the dorm. And then I think when I saw like merchandise and advertisements and stuff for it, like the art style really threw me, kind of in the same way that Rebels did when it first came out. It just was so obviously cartoony because it's a cartoon, but like I don't know, there's certain animations that really like wow me. And I kind of thought, okay, well, maybe this just isn't the kind of material I want to watch Star Wars related. You know, it felt like a kid show, and there's nothing wrong with kid shows. I love kid shows, but you know, at that time I was like, I'm not going to invest my time in this.
Yeah. No, same here. I remember it happening, and I remember especially the film, and we'll talk about the film in a second. The Clone Wars movie.
See, I don't remember the film at all.
I remember it coming out and being like, why? And we already had the 2D Cartoon Network Clone Wars series that they put out right before Revenge of the Sith came out, which was part of their marketing thing. So it was like they're really, really short episodes. And they were made by the team who did like Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls and all that stuff.
Amazing shows.
Yeah, and I really liked that series, and then all of a sudden it's like we're redoing it like immediately. I was like, what the hell for? And then they gave Anakin an apprentice, and I was like, why? And I felt like it didn't make sense. I thought Ahsoka as a character didn't make sense in the timeline. I thought the whole thing was just unnecessary, and it seemed to me like a cash grab. And I was like, oh, this is essentially because, you know, the films were done, so it just seemed like a way to make money.
Cheap, right?
Right. And so I was like, I don't need this. And then it was on for a while. Why? And I really didn't give it a chance until the merger happened and they said that Clone Wars was gonna stay canon. And they had pretty much tossed everything else out besides the films. So I was like, what the hell is the big deal about this? So I remember like reluctantly like giving it a chance and putting it on in the background. And then once, like, especially around the 3rd season, I was like, wow, this is getting good. And I slowly kind of like they hooked me in, and then I was like all in. And then I went through it again because I was like, now I actually really like this. And I went all in down the rabbit hole. And now I appreciate it's one of my most favorite Star Wars things ever.
Oh
I love
yeah.
Clone Wars.
Now
Yeah.
having watched it, it's like, wow, Star
Yeah.
Wars was so different before this, and now it's so
Yeah.
much more.
And now the way that it's impacting live action in such a big way, it just blows my mind. So
Mhm.
um it's going to be interesting to see how general audiences receive things like Ahsoka, if it's because they're not watching the Clone Wars, and how much of really important
Yeah.
information they're not going to have going into it, and what that looks like for them. So yeah, but that's kind of what my Clone Wars journey was. Should we dive in?
Let's.
Okay, let me see if I have a little picture to put up. Boom. You didn't go anywhere. Oh, there.
He's gone. Oh, my arm is gone. Oh, there it is.
Ooh, I'm a little small. Can I make myself bigger? Let me see.
That's right. We learned how to do that last season.
Oh shit. What happened? What happened? No. Oh man, I broke you.
Insert elevator waiting music now.
Oh man, this is making me sad.
Oh, Peter.
There we go. Can Rita
The
Repulsa made
monster.
me cry. Better summon your Megazord Rangers. Okay. And now we're hanging out with Malzy. Hi. Let me tickle your horns.
Character who greatly benefited from the Clone Wars
Oh,
series.
we're going to talk about him.
Leaps and bounds.
And in true Star Gaze fashion, I already have a drag race queen to compare him to.
Yes.
I
I
can't
can't
wait.
wait. Look at
So as we
Anakin's face in this. He looks so scrunchy. I'm not feeling this.
well, Anakin hates gays, so
Oh, yeah, that's canon.
it is now. Uh, I mean, really, like he essentially helps run. He becomes vice president of an impressive. He's Republican all the way, dude. Like I
Oh, yeah,
don't.
absolutely. But he like falls into it. Like he doesn't think he is until he's there and he's like, well, I'm already here.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird. It's like, and Padme feels so democratic to me. Maybe I don't know,
Mhm.
or at least she tries to be.
For the
um,
votes.
yeah, she's like a moderate, like Democrat. Um, but to me,
She's
that's
only
why they're
really
pairing
liberal during like election season.
right. But their pairing is so weird to me. It's like AOC, like all of a sudden dating Mike Pence. Like it's really weird. Like I don't, I don't like it at all.
That like the age difference is reversed.
Yeah. Oh, oh, Padme's gross. Um, so just some general trivia to warm us up. Um, the Clone Wars series was conceptualized by both George Lucas and Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni is now currently I think his title is creative director for Lucasfilm. So now he oversees Star Wars timeline and everything that happens with Star Wars creatively. He's the new George Lucas, essentially, without running Lucasfilm. The two had a mentor-student relationship and developed a really strong friendship, which happens to this day. George Lucas still comes down to the set sometimes to visit Dave while they make live-action Star Wars series, which is cool. George Lucas personally recruited him after seeing Dave's work on Avatar: The Last Airbender, which, if you watch that show, very similar in tone to the Clone Wars.
Yes.
Dave was a huge Star Wars fan, huge fan of George Lucas. And so when he found out that George wanted to meet with him, he initially thought it was a prank from the SpongeBob SquarePants team who worked next door. So we like brushed it off.
Those silly rascals.
I know. Fucking idiots. Uh, um, The Clone Wars obviously had one big problem, which was it's full of clones that are all essentially the same person. So a huge part of the cast is one person, and that is D. Bradley Baker, who's a pretty popular voice actor. He does a lot of voiceover work, and he's really talented, as you see in the Clone Wars if you watch, and the Bad Batch especially. He voices all of the clones, and he makes sure to give each one a different personality and a slightly different way of speaking. And he recorded them in separate voice sessions as if he was voicing different characters. So that way he could stay in character as each clone. And he would write different adjectives for them. So, like if one was younger, he would just write younger on a sheet of paper to make sure that he's making note of that when doing his voice work. If one was a bully, he would write that, things like that.
It's very creative.
Yeah. A big thing, of course, is what is considered to be the Clone Wars main character for the most part, which is Ahsoka Tano. So Dave and George created Ahsoka. Dave Filoni describes Ahsoka as the Gandalf of Star Wars, which I think her live action series is really going to lean into. And this is kind of acting as her very early origin story. Her mannerisms while animating her were based on Carrie Fisher. So they watched Carrie Fisher play Princess Leia physically, and they animated Ahsoka to kind of match that kind of attitude as she moves around. And her personality is a blend between Anakin and Obi-Wan's. So she's got a bit of Anakin's recklessness, bit of her brash, like almost like edgy kind of personality. And then Obi-Wan's like almost like tunnel vision, measured, calculated judgment. So there's
by the book
sense. Yeah. So there's a sense of her that's willing to kind of break the rules a little bit, but for the most part, she really doesn't question anything. And it's not really until later in the series where she kind of breaks out of that. And that's a big part of her growth. James Arnold Taylor voices Obi-Wan Kenobi. He also voiced him in the 2D series. And he does that with a blend of impressions of both Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness, which is why he has like this very specific weird accent of playing Obi-Wan that is unmatched by other portrayals of Obi-Wan. Hayden Christensen expressed interest in returning as Anakin, even for this show, but he was not asked to return.
They didn't ask anyone from the cast to return.
No, none of the main cast members from the prequel trilogy were initially invited to return. So Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Ian McDermott, Frank Oz, and Tamura Morrison, even who could have probably easily voiced all the clones. They were not asked to return, and I'm assuming that's more likely because they didn't want to pay them to come back. It would have been,
but it worked. I mean, the cast that they got really worked.
Yeah, it did. As a result, so Anakin is voiced by Matt Lanter. When auditioning, he was told he was going to be playing a different role. Dave Filoni and Catherine Winder, who's one of the producers, told him to play the character he was auditioning for, which was Deke Starkiller, which is partially like a made-up name and then part of something that came out the same year. We'll talk about that in a second. But they told him to play the character as Han Solo and Luke Skywalker combined, which became his model for Anakin. And I think that's what George was hoping Anakin would become. And I would argue that this is the best portrayal of Anakin we probably see.
Yeah. You know what's weird though is that it's so when watching, it was so jarring at how different it was from Attack of the Clones. And I kind of justified it in my head, like, okay, well, some time has passed. He's let his hair grow. But then when you jump back into he's done some stuff.
He's had
but
sex
then
now.
forgets it all when he goes into Revenge of the Sith. Like he goes back to Hayden Christensen's mannerisms, which still feel very different and very, I guess, amateur, because in this show he's a little more commanding and like cocky and mature, and he doesn't feel that way in Revenge of the Sith. So it is a little jarring to watch it in between the two movies, because you're like, Whoa.
Yeah.
At least
And
I
then
was.
he goes back to being a whiny virgin.
Yeah, he regresses.
Yeah. Big time. Whoa. And she's like, whoa, dude, I'm pregnant. And he's like, how did you get pregnant? Is that what the sex was for? Oh, Annie.
Did that happen because we did sex?
She's like, yes, and we must do it again now. Um
Ew.
which I mean, never mind. I was like, he should take a paternity test, but I guess I mean they're force sensitive, all that stuff. I guess they're not Rush's babies, Rush Clovis.
Yeah.
Anyways, the series debuted the same year as the Force Unleashed video game. Both projects gave Anakin and Vader apprentices, so Ahsoka and Starkiller. They were supposed to be foils of each other. Both characters also wield their sabers the exact same way. But Starkiller was not made canon in the merger. But Ahsoka made it. Good for her.
She made the cut.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Ahsoka, she's voiced by Ashley Eckstein, who's a lovely person. She's like the greatest person alive. Like
Oh, sorry, you've met her, huh?
Yeah, she's great. She's nice. She does a lot of mental health advocacy. She does a lot of charity work. She runs Her Universe, which is a fandom brand. So they make licensed fandom stuff from all things, like not even just Star Wars, but they do focus heavily on Star Wars. And now she's at the level where she makes stuff for the Star Wars parks, even.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she has a Her Universe fashion show every year, which is now becoming really big. Yeah, she's doing good stuff, and she's a great LGBT ally, in fact, and she's very close friends now with Nina West, for example. Yeah, who's become kind of the Disney drag queen. She's done stuff for Disney.
And
I think
rumored to be on next season of All Stars.
Yes, and I think that's how they met, is through Disney, like at first, and then they're also both close friends with Brett Ewan, who's a gay man, and he's the voice of Mickey Mouse.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Ahsoka was initially supposed to have an Icelandic accent. Why? But Ashley couldn't perform.
I'm struggling
the
to
accent.
remember what that sounds like.
Yeah, I was gonna do one, and I was like, I don't think that's Iceland. Let's not.
I feel like when Trixie does her Swedish accent.
Geflugen. No, I was gonna say some Star Wars stuff in it, and we're not doing it. Because like Ashley, I can't perform the accent, so we're gonna do away with it, which is what happened. Dave didn't want to replace her. He was like, you know what? I really wish she was Icelandish for some reason, but I guess we just won't, Ashley.
Thanks.
He's like, you know who could have done it? Rosario Dawson. Sorry, moving on. But that's like the first little batch of trivia I have for the Clone Wars, just as a base. So interesting stuff. Season 1. You ready for why am I whoa, like getting eaten up by the clones back here.
It's okay. Maul cut off my arm. So I'm just one arm guy.
It's like he loves cutting off some limbs.
He does. It's his thing. You know what?
He loves it.
Live
He's
your
lost
truth,
a few
Maul.
himself. Yeah. Like, let it make you powerful. So season 1, I'm gonna say right out the gate, this is not my favorite season.
And you know what made it so much harder is like as you're watching it, because it was originally supposed to be like an anthology and they skipped around. It was so hard to follow. And that may be why when I had attempted to watch it prior to our watch through, I couldn't stick to it. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. It's beyond me. But then
makes it hard.
We watched it in order.
It's suddenly it was like, whoa.
Everything clicked.
Yeah, everything made sense. It's weird. It makes it look sloppy the way they do that. The film, and I think I talk about it more later down in my notes somewhere, but the film is 4 episodes that they just kind of took out of the season and put in there. So that's out of place. And then all these other it just doesn't make any sense. Why make it harder for your audience? I don't understand that. People are
Right.
dumb. Break it down for them.
And it didn't seem like there was any clear reason to do that. Like, I can understand if that was like artistically, like, oh, we're gonna do it and it's all gonna make sense. Never made sense.
Nope. 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 Nope.
Mm-mm.
Um, so there is the film, which technically, even though it's not in the order, if we're going in chronological order where it fits, but the first thing we got was the film, which I think really turned people off at first. It didn't do that great. People didn't really like it that much.
Mm.
Really wasn't worth it to make it a film. And really all that happens in the film is Ahsoka shows up. And then there's this whole arc about Jabba the Hutt's son, which doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
So it kind of just feels like a waste of time. It's like one very important thing, and then like this filler arc. And then why?
Crammed into a movie.
Yeah. I'm gonna briefly go over the episodes here. I'm not gonna dive into each and every one like we'd be here forever. But I'm gonna go over generally kind of what they were and then talk about, kind of the important ones. So then there's an episode called Ambush where Yoda is ambushed by Ventress. Ventress was a really cool addition that
Oh
the
yeah.
Clone Wars brought, and I don't think they really did her justice overall. And that makes me sad because we don't really get to see her origin, and then we don't get to see the end of her story either. So
They had plans to it though, didn't they?
they
And
did. They
then when
did.
they did the merger, those were part of the cutout
Uh-huh.
episode. That was
Yeah.
supposed to be the Dark Disciple arc,
Yep. Yep.
which is a book. Go get it. It's great.
Yep. It is a good book. It's a good book. Uh, anyways, so Ventress ambushes Yoda, blah blah blah. Is it kind of like our first entry to her aside from the film? And then there's the Malevolence arc, which was where they brought us General Grievous back for a while. And we dived into like a separatist ship that became like a super weapon. It was disabling ships and doing all this stuff. And they
Is
had
that the first appearance of the Ion Cannon in Star Wars? Because
I
it's in
think
The
so.
Empire Strikes Back. Like that's the thing on Hoth, right?
Um, I think Malevolence operated in a slightly different way than an
Yeah, it was more
ion
like a
cannon.
like a wave than
Yeah. Um, but I would say yeah, it's the more like of the powerful weapon technologies we first see, other than the pew pew. Um, so and that arc is actually pretty cool. Does it mean anything in the grand scheme of things? But it's a really good arc. The episode Rookies gives us Domino Squad, who we also follow throughout the bulk of the series, which is this little group of clones that slowly get picked off throughout the series.
eliminated.
Right. They just kind of show up out of nowhere here. And because, like you said, it's an anthology, we get their origin way later for no reason.
Mm.
But they show up here and then it's kind of hard to care about them. But once we really know them, we start to get attached to them. There's a droid arc, which is Downfall of a Droid and Duel of the Droids, which is where R2 gets lost and they replace him with another droid. And it's like a spy droid. And then there's our first Jar Jar episode of the series, which is Bombad Jedi, where he finds
Mm.
Anakin's robes scandalously on Padme's ship.
Thinks nothing of it.
Yeah, and he has to help
This is
Padme
normal.
after Senator Farr betrays Padme and Newt Gunray is there and tries to kill her, and then they end up capturing Viceroy Gunray, only for Asajj Ventress to free him in Cloak of Darkness, which was the next episode. One of the episodes I really like is Lair of Grievous, which gives us a little bit of Grievous's origin story, which really gives him more weight in Revenge of the Sith. And then we get Dooku captured and the Gungan General, which is a tiny arc about Dooku getting captured by Hondo's pirates. And then Anakin and Obi-Wan also get captured, and they have to work together as like a little family line. That's cute. And then their only hope for rescue is Jar Jar Binks, which naturally, I mean, who else are you going to call?
The unsung hero of the whole series.
Exactly. There's Jedi Crash and Defenders of Peace, which is where Ahsoka and Anakin, they crash on this planet. They have to help these pacifist lemur people defend their planet against the separatists. There's the Blue Shadow virus, which was initially to represent the swine flu, but it's a little awkward now after COVID.
Very on the nose.
Yeah. Which again, Jar Jar Binks to the rescue there as well.
Where's our Jar Jar?
Ours?
To save planet Earth. Because he's obviously busy.
I was like, I have one? Has
One
he been in my house the whole time?
Jumps out of the closet. He's the voice you're referencing off camera.
He's the producer of our show, actually. There's Mystery of 1,000 Moons, which is about Iago, the planet Iago, which was referenced in the Phantom Menace, where the angels live. You know, when Anakin, like 9-year-old Anakin, throws the pickup line at Padme, really weird. He's like, "Are you an angel? Because I think they live on some planet somewhere." Are you from there?
Nailed it.
Yeah. Because I don't know what sex is, but I'd like to have it with you, pretty lady. And she's like, "You're the perfect age." Anyways.
No.
Yeah. But we get to see that planet. We get to see the angels on it. And the name Iago is a reference to Lego and how Star Wars was their first property and all that good stuff. So, yeah. And then we get the Ryloth arc, which ends up being really important for Star Wars canon as a whole, because we get to meet Ryloth, the like civil war that they have on Ryloth, how this war impacts that. It's our first introduction to Cham Syndulla, who becomes a big figure. And then, of course, his daughter Hera is a big deal in Star Wars. We're going to see her in live action for the first time in Ahsoka coming up. And then the season ends with Hostage Crisis, which is where we meet several of our bounty hunters of the series, including our first not live action, but our first Clone Wars look at Aura Singh, and the first time we ever meet Cad Bane.
Resident badass.
I love Cad Bane. He was really cool. But aside from like some of these like little pockets, this season is kind of whatever.
Yeah.
To be honest, it gives us a lot of entry work and a lot of like introductions to characters that we would go on to love, I guess. Especially at like 22 episodes or whatever the hell this was. It's just a lot of like nothing with a couple moments of something. Which is why, like, if you're watching Clone Wars for the first time, like, you got to just binge it. You got to just power through it, and then it gets good.
Yeah, and if possible, find the list online where you can watch them.
Watch it in order. Yeah,
because it makes so much
way
more
better.
Sense.
Yeah. Season 2 was a little better, sort of. Holocron Heist,
sort of,
Cargo. Holocron Heist, Cargo of Doom, Children of the Force. That was the one where Palpatine had Cad Bane get a holocron, and they began hunting all the children because he was going to experiment on them. And I think this is kind of like a precursor to what we eventually got Inquisitors as. And it's something Palpatine continually tries to do several times, which is really weird. But it was a great arc. And it's our first look at Mustafar, which is great. Then there's Senate Spy, Landing on Point Rain, and Weapons Factory. And this is where we discover that Padme is worse than we thought. Just really messed up because we meet her ex, Rush Clovis, who's not much better than Anakin.
She really picks winners. I think we talked a little bit about this last season. Her taste in men is just choice.
Awful. And he wasn't even 9.
At least Anakin had that going for him.
I know. It's way old for her. She's like, we could have gone to high school together. Gross. Anyways, she does a little SP, which as a senator, I'm like, what do senators do in this galaxy? Like, Padme's doing all this stuff that I've never seen a senator do in our particular
she just really goes
country.
above and beyond.
Yeah, she's doing espionage. She's carrying like guns and shit. She's on the front line. Like, when is Gavin Newsom gonna go overseas and stake out some weapons factories for us? When is he doing that?
Weapons factories.
Legacy of Terror and Brain Invaders are really good ones. That's when we first get our Clone Wars look at Barriss Offee, which means a lot of these characters, when I say first Clone Wars look, they were like background characters in the prequels, and now they actually matter in this show, which is cool. So Barriss Offee is one of those. And that's when they go to Geonosis. So we get a little follow-up to Geonosis after Attack of the Clones. And then turns out they're full of brain-invading worms. And that becomes kind of like a weird sci-fi space thriller, which is kind of cool. Almost like Alien, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that one. That was good.
There's Grievous Intrigue and The Deserter, which for the most part are filler episodes. I'm not going to go too much into them. They're pretty good episodes, but they don't really mean much. Lightsaber Lost, which involves Ahsoka getting her lightsaber stolen by lesbians, and she has to seek help from Tara Sunube, who's like super duper old. I was gonna say Dick Van, he just died.
Don't we get a quick view of him in the Kenobi series, right? Isn't he in one of like the
Yes. That's his live action debut as a dead body.
Good for him.
Yeah, super cool. He is actually really cool in this show.
Yeah, he is.
I really like Tara Sunube. R.I.P. bitch.
R.I.P. to a real one.
Let me pour out my vitamin water for Tara Sunube. There's also the Mandalore plot, Voyage of Temptation, which is a Star Wars romance novel. No, I'm just kidding. Duchess of Mandalore. That's our first Mandalore arc with Duchess Satine, and our first look at Death Watch and all of that wonderful stuff. Very different Mandalore than we see in The Mandalorian, by the way. There's Senate Murders, which is kind of like a whodunit, where all the senators are being poisoned and they have to figure out who's killing them. It's kind of a good episode. Doesn't really mean much, but it's a good episode. There's Cat and Mouse, which is also kind of filler. And then there's Bounty Hunters, which is one episode, but it's important for a couple of reasons. So that's one where Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka end up on a planet, and they're in like a village of farmers, and Hondo Onaka is invading and trying to like oppress the farmers for whatever reason. And they team up with 4 bounty hunters that are there to protect the villagers, and then they teach the villagers how to defend themselves against the pirates. It is based on the film Seven Samurai, which was directed by I can't believe Akira Kurosawa, I believe his name is. It's like a direct retelling of that film. That's exactly what the film is about. George Lucas was a huge fan of his, and a lot of his work was an influence of developing Star Wars for George Lucas. So the episode is also dedicated to him, and the air date of the episode was what would have been Kurosawa's 100th birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's like a little tribute to him. And then we get the Zillo Beast, and the Zillo Beast Strikes Back, which is their like kaiju Godzilla arc. What I appreciate about the Clone Wars is it does a lot. It takes a lot of like sci-fi and pop culture type stuff and repurposes it through the Star Wars lens, and it makes it really cool. And especially for youth watching it, I think opens the doors for them to explore like other intellectual properties and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah.
And the season ends with Death Trap, R2 Come Home, and Lethal Track Down, which was the first Boba Fett arc we got. So that's where we find out Boba Fett's been pretty much being raised by these bounty hunters like Aura Singh. And then he tries to get revenge on Mace Windu, is what that is. So that's season 2. Or
in a nutshell.
Yeah. AKA Clone Wars 2. Better season. It's still not my favorite, but it is better. The wheels are turning. Wheels are a little greasy now.
I feel like after this, it really starts to pick up.
Oh, it does, yeah. Hold on. Vitamin water. So nourishing.
Hashtag not sponsored.
But they should. I'm drinking a lot of vitamin water.
If you want to, by all means. Drink the crap out of your water.
We will drink the fuck out of these vitamins.
We'll be so fucking hydrated.
Yeah. I will guzzle this vitamin water the whole fucking episode if you want to.
Just like one of those beer caps, just with vitamin water.
Like that.
Sponsored by.
Oh, jeez. My hat. This is an interesting episode so far. We're feeling it out. Season 3 gets way better. This is, like I said, this is where I began to be like, whoa, this should actually be good.
Yeah, one of my favorite arcs is in this season.
Yes.
The Witches and Monsters.
Oh, yeah. We get Clone Cadets and ARC Troopers, which is that Domino Squad origin story. So finally, you're like, oh, that's who these fucking people are. Half of them are dead by this point already, though. So it's like, why do I care? But if you watch it in chronological order, it makes it way better because we start with these essentially. There's supply lines and sphere of influence, which is filler for the most part. There's some important stuff in there, but nothing crazy. Corruption in the Academy are pretty good. That's the Mandalore follow-up. So Padme visits Satine. She's like, hey bitch, heard you like fucking Jedi too.
Word on the street is.
Yeah. And she's like, oh my god, let's go talk because Anakin does this thing with the Force. And then they find out that, whoa, crazy, like Mandalore's like super corrupt. Duh, Satine. And then all of a sudden they're like, I know what we'll do in response to that. I'm gonna call Ahsoka and she's gonna be a professor at your weird private school for some reason. And then her students uncover like all this stuff. And they overthrow the prime minister. Oops.
Those wacky kids.
Yeah. Ahsoka. Can you imagine being like sending your employee or the person you're supervising, like, hey, I can't make it to this thing, you know, over there. Could you just fly over there and handle it? And then they just like overthrow the country. Uh,
Hey, that really wasn't what I asked you to do. But great.
yeah. Let's talk about mandates. Uh, Assassin is an episode where Ahsoka has visions of Padme's assassination from Aura Singh. Not super important. It's kind of a cool episode. It's about Ahsoka kind of expanding her powers a little bit and learning what to do with that and how to interpret things from the Force. Again, she's supposed to be Gandalf one day. So it's good stuff for her. And someone's always trying to kill Pat. I'm like, girl, maybe if you weren't such a big old pedo, nobody will want to kill you.
It's because she's doing all that running around that none of the other senators are doing.
Yeah. Maybe if you weren't a senator who, like, I don't know, pulled guns on people and like went overseas and shot up world leaders, like maybe they wouldn't try and kill you.
The easier time at life.
Yeah. Evil Plans and Hunt for Zero was our Zero the Hutt follow-up after the film arc. Whatever. It's a good watch. I'm not saying it's bad, but
you do get some really cool, like throughout the series, insight into like the Hutts and how that whole
and their
system
syndicate
works.
and their council and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
As an organization and how they operate as like a family, they're kind of like the mob, and they really flesh them out like that, which is good. And I think it's that episode one of those episodes we get a really good look at Quinlan Voss, who becomes important later, sort of, not on screen. So that's really cool, but for the most part, like nothing super impactful. Heroes on Both Sides and Pursuit of Peace. That's a little arc where Padme takes Ahsoka to shadow her politically for some reason. And they sneak into separatist lines to hang out with Padme's friend. Because also, as it turns out, Padme's also like a shady, treasonous bitch. And but it forces Ahsoka, because as we talked about Ahsoka's personality, it forces Ahsoka to kind of finally start thinking outside the box a little bit about why she's fighting a war for the Jedi, why the war is happening,
why the Jedi are involved at all.
Right. And maybe all this stuff that was presented to her as being very black and white is not so. And also she's kind of a slut and likes Lux Bonteri. So fucking whore. If she learned anything from Padme, it's that.
Like bonding with your Biggs girlfriend. Like
she's like, well, you and Anakin are really good friends, and this is what you guys do. Padme's like, and then
do you think by this point she had put it together yet that Anakin and Padme were a thing? Because she obviously knows. Like at some point she like definitely knows.
No, and I would have to look at my chart because there's like a Forces of Destiny episode or whatever the hell it is, where she strongly hints to Anakin that she obviously knows. A lot of people know, like they're not as cash as they think they are. I mean, he's leaving robes on her ships everywhere and all this kind of like, really. So I don't know when she formally pieces it together, but I would argue around this time is probably when she does, especially because there's this weird thing that I don't like in this show where for a little, like a hot minute, Anakin and Padme kind of almost act as her parents, which are weird. So, and this arc is a good example where Anakin's like, I'm pissed at her, so you take her to work today.
and this is your weekend.
Yeah, it's really weird. So I'm assuming around that time where she's like, you guys are real close. Anyways, there's Night Sisters, Monster, and Witches of the Mist. Which is our first look at the Night Sisters. So this is when Ventress gets cast aside by Dooku because Palpatine don't like her no more. You don't like how much Dooku likes her, which is really interesting. Dooku, I just love Dooku as a character because even
Mhm.
as even at his most Sithiest Sith spot in his life, I think he genuinely likes Asajj Ventress. And even though I think he has selfish plans for her to get him out of his own tight spot with Sidious, there's something about not about wanting her to do well, about wanting her to be more powerful, and having a really hard time letting her go.
Well, it very much mirrors Sidious's relationship with Maul
Mm-hmm.
and his whole situation with keeping Maul kind of in secret from Plagueis and
Yeah,
not really letting him know that he was like training him and bringing him up to be really his protege when
yeah,
he was
yeah,
Plagueis's protege.
yeah. Um, yeah, but I get a vibe that he really doesn't want to give her again for selfish reasons, a big part of that. But I think he genuinely feels bad for telling her like you're on the shit list.
Mhm.
um because he knows where she came from and all that good stuff. And Dooku is not rooted. He wasn't raised in the dark side like someone like Maul
Right.
was. And um anyways, but Ventress kind of goes back to her roots with the Night Sisters, learns all about that, joins a sorority. um and then she wants to get revenge on Dooku. So they hatch this plan. It does not go well. Um, but in the process, we meet Maul's brother, who's Savage Opress, and all of that wonderful stuff comes up, which is
Mhm.
really cool. One of my favorite things. We're gonna get a larger look at the Night Sisters coming up in live action too, which are crazy.
Yes.
Then there's Overlords, Altar of Mortis, and Ghosts of Mortis, which is the Mortis arc, where we meet the Mortis gods. Fun fact,
Another
Ghosts of
great arc.
Mortis, right? Original name of our podcast. Um, and it's a big deal for Ahsoka, man. Really big deal. Like in terms of her journey towards Gandalfhood, this is a big step.
Hmm.
Um,
This is her Gandalf the White moment.
yeah, this like I honestly like for people walking into the Ahsoka series without seeing any of this, you're missing out.
Yeah. Must see.
Mm-hmm. And then we also get the Citadel arc, which is the Citadel counterattack and Citadel rescue, which is where we meet Tarkin in the Clone Wars. Really big stuff. Like this is where in the series I'm like, oh, now we're finally like connecting to stuff that's important. And then we end the season by meeting Chewbacca in the episodes Padawan Lost and Wookiee Hunt, where Ahsoka gets
Oh,
kidnapped.
Chewie.
And she gets dropped off on a Trandoshan hunting ground, and one of those um, people roaming the island trying to live is Chewbacca. So very cool. And also some other Jedi younglings, but some of them die. It's just the whole thing. Nobody cares about. And then there's season 4, which is aside from season 1, probably one of my least favorite seasons.
Really? Even it's but the first arc is so good.
Right, but I feel like aside from that, there's not much going on.
Mm.
I love this
That's where
dream.
we get another star moment from Jar Jar. Oh, I love that dream.
I wish Jessica Wilde was here. Anyways, who would she be in Star Wars?
Always. I almost said Jar Jar.
That's Jasmine Kennedy, Zach. We already established that.
That's right. It is Jasmine Kennedy. Damn. Ah, we can't double cast people.
No, we can't.
I don't know.
Stick with
I'll have
it.
to think
We'll
about
come
it.
back to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll think about it.
Um. So again, not in like chronological order, but Season 4, we open with Water War, Gungan Attack, and Prisoners, which is the Moncala arc. With the
Very cool arc.
Quarren, we meet. I hate this arc.
Why?
We meet Admiral Akbar, which I think he's General Akbar at the time, Captain Akbar maybe. Because I just feel like for the most part, I don't know, something about it just bores the hell out of me. And then the villain is like a shark. It's this whole weird thing. Like he's essentially Bruce from Finding Nemo. And
Fish off Fritz.
yeah, it's
I love this arc. I thought this arc was so cool. And to later in the Vader comic book series, like they go into like it's like a flashback to all this. Like I mean, it really ties into that, which is probably why I like it so much. But then we also get the iconic Jar Jar Binks line. What's it?
What's it?
What's it?
Yeah, and he saves Padme
that was like the
by
best part.
spitting on her. He's like, this usually keeps everybody going at the bar. So people always ask me to spit on them. I don't know why.
Oh, Jasmine.
Yeah. That's what she does when she's the lip sync assassin. Like, you said not gonna win. They can't move on the floor. That's how she defeated Maddie Morphus. This is your moment. You used to have it. Sorry.
Stay tuned for Star Wars Drag Race.
It will be an episode, I guarantee it. Speaking of Jar Jar, there's Shadow Warrior, which is where Jar Jar has to impersonate the Gungan boss to fend off General Grievous and all this other stuff happening. Not really super important, but it's a really cool Jar Jar episode.
Really cool Jar Jar episode.
Mercy Mission and Nomad Droids are 2 C3PO and R2 filler episodes. Again, not a lot going on. They're fun to watch together, and there's some funny moments in those episodes. Not important though. The one of the arcs I do really like is Darkness on Umbara, the General, Plan of Descent, and Carnage of Krell, which is the General Krell arc. Which he's a really cool Jedi, and then it really shows where a lot of the Jedi's heads are at as all of this is happening, and really how much at fault really the Council is for that.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting arc. Watch it. There's the Kadavo arc, which is Kidnapped, Slaves of the Republic, and Escape from Kadavo, which is where the Togruta slaves were being held there, and they go and rescue them, and Ahsoka has to pretend to be like a slave woman. It's a really concerning episode. And then Anakin has like a weird romance with the slaver.
Mm-hmm.
Which, Padme, girl, if you could see your boy when you're not around.
Let's just say you're not the only one he's force choking.
Oh, yeah. And hey, I mean, they've got light whips and stuff. Anakin's into some weird stuff. That's all I'm gonna say.
He's got a lot of aggression to take out. Probably won't do it to a senator, but to a slaver, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe they have an arrangement. Like Padme's like, if you're on location for work, you do.
I don't know. Anakin's reaction to Rush Clovis does not give me the impressive impression that's an arrangement they have. Maybe for him exclusively.
Yeah, maybe. He's like, this is what I'm gonna do, and if you get upset, I'll kill you. So
cut your head off.
Love you. I have a feeling. I have a feeling when telling her a lot about what happened during this particular mission, he skipped over like several chapters.
He was very vague.
He was like, anyway, they locked Ahsoka up in a cage, and then we got reinforcements.
And then we got out.
Yeah.
End of story. How was your day?
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, what are all these lash marks on your back? It's weird. They didn't seem to tear
Cut
through your
myself shaving.
robes. Yeah. It's weird that your clothes are so intact, but your skin is not. Um uh, she's like, we haven't made love in months. What do you mean you have a headache? Uh, what were we talking about? Oh yeah.
Season 4.
There's a friend in need, which is essentially Ahsoka versus Death Watch, but it's a Lux Monteri. So she sluts her way off to rescue Lux Monteri. And it's her first encounter, sort of, with Bo-Katan, which becomes important later. And then there's, I hate this arc, but there's Deception, Friends and Enemies, The Box, and Crisis on Naboo, which is this weird arc. And I understand why it's helpful to a certain degree, but it's where one, Obi-Wan gets instant plastic surgery, which I guess they can just do out there. And he becomes a completely different person. But first, he he makes Anakin watch him die.
Oh yeah. Okay, now I remember this part.
Yeah. And then he refers to himself as his code name, which is Ben, which I was like, is the whole arc just to set up a reason for him to use Ben Kenobi later? That's weird. I hate that arc. I hate it so much.
Doesn't he use, I might be wrong, but doesn't he use Ben back when he has his excursions with Duchess Satine? Or does he use a different name?
I I'll double check that. I don't remember him using a code name at all.
Okay, I could be wrong, but for some reason I thought that they like she had a special name for him when they had their adventures.
That's interesting. I'll double check that. He might have, but for some reason I want to say no. I don't know. There's Massacre and Bounty, which is where Ventress gets finally initiated into the Night Sister sorority. It's her initiation night. They have that huge party, and then General Grievous shows up and wipes them out. And Mother Talzin's like, look. Thanks for coming. Really love your interest in Alpha Kappa Night Sister. And it's been lovely. Bye now. And then she has to become a bounty hunter. And Asajj Ventress is put in a very lonely place.
14.
Whatever, fuck her. Look, she made choices.
She's a badass.
Man. She is badass, but she also made choices. And I mean, also maybe hide out somewhere where your boss won't find you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm gonna go hang out with like my family where you know where they all live. Maybe don't do that.
Yeah, and weren't they casting like spells and like trying to kill Dooku from afar and like mess with him?
Yeah, that was what that. Yeah, yeah. And then
calling card,
because when he showed up, Mother Talzin was like, "I'm gonna get this Dooku son of a bitch," and they're doing all this stuff, but it doesn't work. They all get wiped out. Oops. And then there's Brothers and Revenge. So way back yonder, when we first met Savage Opress, Mother Talzin tells him that Darth Maul is out there somewhere, and he has to find it, which was the first tease that Maul was coming back, which was supposed to be the big deal of this season. And he's sort of we get him returning here, but he's just been hanging out on a trash heap, I guess,
as a spider.
He's essentially just a very mentally disturbed homeless person. hanging out near a junkyard. Um, and he's got like spider legs, and they're like, oh, he was just like so angry he kept himself alive. I was like, I'm sorry, but I don't care who you are. You've been cut in half, sir.
There's some anatomically incorrect things about this you being alive business.
Yeah, right through several major organs. You need medical attention, and even then, it's really just to salvage whatever's left if you're a donor. And and but for him to fly all the way down there, down the giant shaft, which the fall alone probably would have killed him, and then to wait till he gets bussed off to the galactic junk pile planets away, and then to attach robo legs to himself somehow. And even then, I'm like, if he does all that, he can't find a way off the planet. He just sits there until he goes crazy. I don't what?
Can make myself legs, but I don't have a ship.
Yeah. Um, and really the answer they have for that is like, just don't think about
it. Just go with it. It'll be great.
Just be happy he's here. And here he was.
And happy we were.
Yeah. And we never thought we'd see him again. Here he is, though, on All Stars.
Slaying the competition.
Yeah. Sort of. So this brings me to my theory. Darth Maul to me, and hear me out.
Okay.
I think he's Monica Beverly Hills.
Stop.
Not a Sith can clock himself.
Not a Sith could clock.
Eliminated. First episode, right? Never thought we'd see him again.
After definitely having some work done.
Yeah, he comes back. Still doesn't do that well. We'll talk about that in part 2 when we get to season 5. He has a rough time in the competition when he gets to All Stars. But is able to return again at the very end and smash the Fame Games. Really,
yeah,
love that.
Not winning, but making a name for himself.
Yeah, very big name for himself, increasing his booking fee for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And not a Sith can clap. Not a Sith can clap.
Can clock.
Now, hey, and kill. And kill. Do you like that, Master?
Stop. I hate it.
I mean, so does he. Look at him.
All this while taking on a drag daughter in Savage Press.
Did not do well either, by the way.
No.
The House of
that elimination was brutal.
Yeah. Oh, lip sync assassin Sidious. Yeah.
She was fierce, Henny. She showed up. It was done. The minute she showed up, she knew she was going home.
And Maul does. He's like, oh. He's like, hey, maybe a double Shantae. Like we all hang out.
And Savage really thought she had it. She put on her heels, gave it her best.
So confident, really.
Yeah. Like, false confidence, but it was confident.
Yeah, it was very overly so.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see her on a returning season of All Stars.
No, and I've heard she's badmouthed the show. So we're not.
Yeah.
We're not. She did not like the edit.
She is bad for the brand. She is not coming back.
Maybe for Dathomir versus the Galaxy. We're not sure, but
there are rumors.
Oh no.
I love this universe so much more now.
Yay.
Everything is Drag Race.
Every
Peony.
not a Sith can clap. Not a Sith can
That's
clap.
gonna be stuck in my head now. Thank you.
You're welcome. And
Hey.
that's what Monica intended. And cute. And cute.
Oh man.
I'm voting for him for the fame games.
Knock my mic over. I'm so excited. I'm gonna vote for her so hard.
You stare down your entire room.
We should
Why
put
is
that
she a
on
soaking clock?
a merch mall for the fame game.
But who will get to spin the wheel for the multiplier? Anyways. Oh, wow.
It's the perfect lens to view the world through. Just I can't.
It's so much, the world makes so much more sense when you do. It is really just the glue that holds us all together.
It really is. Thank you, Drag Race.
Just gotta use my
my
camera.
God. Can we talk about the fucking droids in this series? Like the battle droids and how dumb they are. And how
Which was?
sorry.
I was like, go ahead,
The
talk about it.
the entire time we were watching, I was like, what the hell? And then obviously it's a kid show. I get it. It's supposed to be funny. But these are not the same battle droids that were on Naboo.
No.
And they do explain that they changed their technology or the way they receive their signals or whatever. It's not like such like a hive mind anymore. Oh my God, they're so annoying.
Yeah. I don't think they're a good replacement for an active military, personally.
No, absolutely not. No wonder separatists left.
Yeah, for real. It reminds me of like my Roomba. And like everyone's like, oh, we're being replaced by machines. And then I think about my Roomba who like gets stuck like on a cord.
And that's her whole day.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not that worried about it. Uh, so there's that. I think there are certain battle droids that are very good, but the main models that they really ship out, no.
Not the best.
No. And then that must be like their value menu battle droids.
Yeah, I mean, because like the super battle droids are cool, or like the
Yeah.
ones that are like the tacticians,
Yeah.
they're cool.
Yeah.
And like, I get that. But man, their main military force,
Mess. Hot mess. Stupid.
not a Sith could clock. But a clone trooper could easily.
He'd clock it from a mile away.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
Seasons 1 through 4.
Yeah, what's the gayest thing about seasons 1 through 4?
Oh man. We can't say Padme anymore because her wardrobe budget nosedives.
Really dropped. A lot of repeating
Yeah.
outfits. They really should have waited to offer her back for All Stars.
Absolutely. Oh, Matt, I'm trying to think of what is the gayest part of Clone Wars season 1 through 4. What is it for you?
Probably the Anakin Obi-Wan fan fiction I wrote. I'm just kidding.
What?
Which I will do a dramatic reading of right now. No. I really don't know. I mean, I feel like there's extreme sexual tension between Obi-Wan and Maul.
Ooh, yeah.
That's just me. And he seems real salty that Obi-Wan didn't even try to call him all of these years.
That's rough. It's hard on your self-esteem. You know, you got these new spider legs. Does he still like you? Would he still cut you in half? Does he think about you?
Yeah.
sitting in a junkyard. That's rough.
Yeah.
Not good for the mental health.
Nope. Maybe Ahsoka. I mean, there's like a teen drama-ness to her, especially seasons 3 and 4. And
Oh, you know what? Asajj Ventress. She's fierce.
sold. I will take. She's essentially a drag queen.
Absolutely.
Who would she be? Oh wow.
It'd have to be someone like absolutely fierce and stunning
Yeah.
and preferably bald.
Yeah. So I'm thinking Jay Jolie. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, maybe Sasha Velour.
I was just gonna say Sasha Velour. I mean, Sasha doesn't have that mean streak to her, but she is incredibly smart
Yeah.
and fashionable.
I also think she was the only bald one I could think of. Uh or the drag
Bob's
princess.
bald.
Yeah, princess. I don't know if you remember.
Oh
her.
yeah, I do. Drag Race past.
Not fondly. I guess.
Right. She's
I,
not one of my
yeah.
top 10. Yeah, she was there.
Okay.
We've got to write down all of our assigned drag queens and their Star Wars counterparts.
I know. And now I need a chart.
Ooh, a chart.
I love a chart. I love a good chart. I love a good Excel spreadsheet.
I love a good table.
Yeah, I'm a freak in the Excel spreadsheets. Stop.
Put it on a hat.
On a hat. Yes. You're welcome. Anything else about seasons 1 through 4?
You know, the series as a whole. Thank you. Damn cat. The series as a whole, I really wish was a little grittier and darker. Like there are some points where it does get kind of dark, but as it's a kid's show, like if it was PG-13, I think I would like it a little more.
Yeah, I think we get there, but it's a slow.
Yeah, we do. Especially after seeing like the different things with like animation and stuff they did, like with not Tales of the Jedi, the other one. What's that show on Disney Plus with the different style?
Rebels?
No, oh god, not Rebels. The one where they have like the different animation styles and the animes and like the cartoon.
Visions.
Think Visions. I'm sorry.
You do not have the vision to think of the word.
Did not have the vision. I did not have a Raven's memory. Yeah, like Visions, because that can be pretty dark and gritty, and I really, really enjoy that media. So I think if it had a PG-13 rating instead of a PG, I'd be a little more invested in it. But it's a great show.
Yeah.
What about you? Any final thoughts about seasons 1 through 4?
No, I mean, I think my favorite moments come from the tail end of the show. But there is.
We got that Disney budget.
Right. There's a couple spots in season 4 and then a lot of season 3 that really, I think, drew me in. And really, that's where I saw the potential of where the show could kind of end up. And it was enough for me to stick with it. So I that would be my advice again for anybody binging it is 1, to find the list of it in chronological order.
Makes
and
a
2,
huge difference.
Right. And then just binge it. At least the first 4, like the first 4 seasons, get them done. Get them in there.
They're out of the way.
Yeah. And then you'll really appreciate the final 3. And then it really enhances the films. So do that. Now.
Right now. After you like and subscribe.
Yeah, but do that first. Yeah, so I guess that's it for part 1. We'll be back for part 2 very soon,
where we'll talk about seasons 5 through 7.
Yes, and whoa, nope. What is it? I had a stroke.
You Mitch McConnell yourself.
I was just gonna say, like, suddenly I'm Mitch McConnell, like, on the podium. Wow. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm using my angles.
Talking to Jar Jar.
What's that? That's gonna be a fun one to edit.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll be back for part 2. We got all kinds of more fun facts, trivia, and then stuff to dive in story-wise for seasons 5 through 7. So stick around for that. But thank you so much for listening and or watching. If you are listening to us on a podcast platform, please subscribe and write a review. If you are viewing us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment down below, and give us a like. We appreciate you being here with us for episode 13 of Star Gaze. So now go watch some Star Wars, and may the Fierce be with you.
Yes.
Oh.
Angles.
No, just kidding.
And see.
Yes.